Hey, it's Monday. It's time for the weekend warm up, wrap up. Weekend wrap up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and hopefully this will be better than 2 minutes ago. Wade, good afternoon.
What's happening, Mo? How we doing this afternoon?
Not good, not good. I can't hear Wade, so let me, Wade. I'm going to hand this off to you and see what I can do to be heard over the next little bit. Take it away.
Sounds Sounds good, Mo. While he's dealing with that, we do want to welcome everybody in. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everybody had a very safe and very festive 4th of July holiday. But Mo is right. It is the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, and we are presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Got a big show on tap. Excited to welcome you guys in. We'll talk everything, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We'll go from preps, we'll go to college, we'll go to pros. Preps to pros running the gamut here on this weekend wrap-up edition. And the main thing is just hope everybody stayed safe. As we closed our shows last week, we kind of stressed that. Making the magic happen behind the scenes is our producer, Mark Rogers. Mark, I've got to ask you real quick while we're filling time here till Mo returns. Did you come back from the break with all of your appendages, partner?
They're all intact. No injuries, no ambulances. So, yeah.
That is good to hear. I'm glad to report the same, and I assume Mo as well. But we do hope everybody celebrated this weekend in style. The fireworks show in Nashville is about 2 miles from my house, but the fireworks show in the neighborhood was the louder and arguably more impressive in terms of what we could see. So we had a good one, but it was a great weekend. We got a lot to tap into, as we said, on this weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today. Let's kind of get into the show and what we're going to get kind of on the rundown and through the next couple of hours. In the second hour, we'll be joined by our good friend from 615soccer.com. He is the one and only that is VALAIR SHABILLA. NSC did it yet again. I'm repping, folks. Went out and watched the boys get a nice win at the death Saturday night versus the Philadelphia Union. Nashville now is off and officially rolling as if they weren't already, but 14-plus unbeaten, and they have clinched second place in the Eastern Conference table thus far. So we'll catch up with VALAIR. We'll also talk about what was a kind of a letdown on a very, Independence Day themed. Couldn't have played out any better for the United States men's national team, but it was not meant to be. But we'll talk to VALAIR about their Gold Cup matchup that took place last night in the championship. We'll give you guys the latest on NASCAR, golf, and Wimbledon in that second hour as well. And we'll also talk a lot of MLB throughout the course of the show today. Speaking of MLB, we will be joined here in a couple of moments by our good friend from the AtlantaVoice.com. He is DONNELL SUGGS. We'll talk about the Braves. I would say the good, but there hadn't been a lot of good lately. The Braves were swept in that 3-game set, and Donnell will kind of break things down for us as we kind of set the stage for a little more Major League Baseball discussion throughout the course of this first hour. We still got the grab bag that we'll get into as well. A lot to get going really over the course of the next couple hours. And with that being said, I had hoped my fearless compadre would have rejoined us by now. But Mark is working. We're all working kind of behind the scenes. Nothing like coming back from a little bit of an extended break. We missed you guys Thursday, but producer Mark had a great best of show for us. We certainly missed you guys Friday. And then, so an extended weekend of sorts in terms of this program. But in addition to coming back and kind of what that traditionally entails, everybody kind of getting back on the grind this week. Behind the scenes, our beloved broadcaster, our broadcast provider, if you will, has made some updates as well. So we're all kind of scrambling throughout the course of this show. We hope that you'll bear with us. And if you do, we appreciate you. We thank you certainly for tuning in as we guide this ship here for the next couple of hours. With that being said, realistically, I think I've killed about as much time as I could realistically kill here in this little interlude. But if it's all right with you, producer Mark, if it's all right with the folks watching and the folks listening, I say we go ahead and pop the seal on today's episode. We do it every single day with yesterday's results and today's schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, we call it the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
And every single Monday, our rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. So give them a call today. That number is 931-388-5831, or you can visit zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, 931-388-5831 or zioneagles.org to schedule an appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, where they are prepared for college and equipped for purpose. Let's go back to Friday, wind back the clock while everybody was out enjoying the sights and sounds of Independence Day, tossing back a couple cold ones, getting a couple hot dogs, manning the grill, whatever your Friday entailed. The results were as such from Friday. Major League Baseball, the Orioles with a 3-2 victory versus the Atlanta Braves. It was the Houston Astros with an 18-1 win over the LA Dodgers. Nashville Sounds, they got a nice win, 6-1, as they knocked off the Memphis Redbirds to cap our Friday schedule. That pushes us into Saturday. It was 9-6 as the Orioles defeat the Braves in Saturday action. The Astros with a 2-run victory, 6-4 over the Dodgers. The sounds like was the best game of the day, however. 9-8 was that final as the Sounds defeat the Redbirds there. I mentioned to you guys, was out at Geodis, and man, was it bumping. It was electric, and it had all the makings of a draw until the very, very end. But a penalty kick awarded to NSC, penalty kick converted by the MVP, Hani Mukhtar. Salutes all around as Nashville does hang on for a 1-0 victory over the Philadelphia Union. WNBA scores from Saturday. The LA Sparks with a nice 2-point victory, hanging on for 89-87 versus the Indiana Fever. And the Minnesota Lynx took care of the Golden State Valkyries 82-71. That brings us into Sunday. Sunday's schedule was as follows. It was the Orioles with a 2-1 victory versus the Braves. The Astros took care of business yet again versus the Dodgers. 5-1 was your final. And the Nashville Sounds, after, what was that, back on Friday? 6-1 Friday, 9-8 on Saturday. But it was a smorgasbord of sorts of runs on Sunday as the Sounds crack open 15 of them on the Redbirds, who had just 11. So again, Nashville with a nice win. 15-11 to cap that series yesterday afternoon. WNBA scoreboard from last night. Seattle with a 79-70 victory over the Liberty. It was the Aces taking care of the Sun, 86-68. The Lynx slipping by the Chicago Sky, pesky Sky game last night as Minnesota wins, but only just 80-75 was that final there. To the schedule we go today. MLB action. The Astros and Guardians will get underway at 7:10 down in Houston. Should be a fun series. That is the House Divided series here in the Neely household. Mary Austin, a Guardians fan, Neely, an Astros fan. So it should be fun at 7:10. WNBA action. We close our schedule with 2 games. The Valkyries at the Dream. That game gets underway at 6:30. And at 9 p.m. tonight, it'll be the Dallas Wings at the Phoenix Mercury. That is your Monday schedule. Those were your weekend results. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's rundown.
Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you our top story. And this comes from women's international basketball. We talked to you last week, not too long ago, about Vanderbilt losing Camille Pierre. Well, Michaela Blakes is still in black and gold, but this weekend she was in the red, white, and blue, scoring a USA AmeriCup record 27 points on 11 of 24 shooting from the floor and leading Team USA to a women's AmeriCup win over Brazil, 92-84 down in Chile over the weekend. She and Hannah Hidalgo were both named to the FIBA AmeriCup All-Star 5 following that victory. Hidalgo from Notre Dame scored 16 points with 7 rebounds in that win over Brazil. So as tough as things have been for the Commodores, again, with the loss of Pierre here recently, again, Blake's is back and doing Blake's things, as this weekend indicates.
Yeah, if you're a Vanderbilt fan, finally a sign of good news, especially in regards to their women's basketball team. Good to see her playing well, and kind of, as you mentioned, busting through in a big way. 27 points, setting that record, but also getting the MVP honors. But I'm seeing kind of, I like what I see in terms of the consistency, averaging 14 points, nearly 3.5 boards a game, but really seems like she was shooting the ball well, close to 44% in those 7 games. So good news for her. And it wasn't as if this was, not everybody is playing in this thing. But going up against some decent competition, Cardoso was down there. I still don't know how that works. Certain players kind of decided to opt to play in this thing, it sounds like. But she being one of them elected to. But Blake's kind of showcasing her game. We knew she had the goods in SEC play, to say the least. But now putting it on for the international realm as well. It was good to see.
Absolutely good to see her doing that on the international stage. USA defeated Canada in the semifinals on Saturday. They played 7 games, so she got quite a workout. And that kind of competition at the international level, that period of time, that's going to be invaluable for her, I would think, coming back to Vanderbilt and Southeastern Conference play later this year. They defeated the Dominican Republic 110-44 in Friday's quarterfinals. Defeated Mexico 104-48 in group play. Also, kind of looks like they kind of ran roughshod through the group action. Apparently, let's see, an 80-62 win earlier in group action, and what else? Thing started on Saturday. They defeated Colombia 80-43. That's with an O, not a U. And did they play on the 28th?
Yes. So schedule
opened on the
up
28th with a 108-47 win over host Chile. So yeah, again, they did their thing all week down there and finished it up with a big win over Brazil. And it sounds like they in Brazil were pretty much the class of the AmeriCup tournament, and USA taking care of business in the finals in a big way again. So congrats to them. Coached by Duke coach Kara Lawson. Sorry, Wade. But 92-80
only.
Oh, okay, cool.
We like her.
Yeah, we do like her. We do like Kara Lawson a lot. USA picking up a 92-84 win over Brazil in the finals of the FIBA AmeriCup tournament. I don't know what this means because, like you said, there are a lot of people probably playing in this that won't necessarily be playing in, World Cup or whatever else happens. But this is still some great international experience for these folks to get who might not be able to get that under, in an Olympic type setting or, in a World Cup. So good for them. Kind of keeping that pipeline stocked up, I guess.
100%. That's what I was going to say. That's the other nice thing, in a sense, for Vanderbilt, but really for Michaela personally, is you kind of go ahead and thrust your name in there and kind of deliver some performances. The script still to be written on the rest of her college career, and obviously the professional realm as well. But the fact you kind of put your name out there, go ahead and start having some success. And when people start thinking about your performances in the red, white, and blue uniform, who knows what the rest looks like. But, maybe earn a favorable call-up. If it comes down to a late roster spot and, it's between Blake's and somebody else, gearing up for 2028 here in the States, maybe you get a nod when you harken back to what she's kind of done in some of these earlier tournaments. So good to kind of see her out there and good to see her playing well.
Absolutely. You like to see that. And again, that's a big boost for Shea Ralph and the folks over on West End, again, especially with the recent news of Camille Pierre's departure. Still not really clear on how that came about, but regardless, she's not there. So a little bit more will be resting on Michaela Blake's shoulders here going into this upcoming season. Be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's take a break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be talking little Braves baseball with Donnell Suggs of the Atlanta Voice. We'll probably also kind of wander into some NBA talk with Donnell as well. So stick around for that when we come back.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
3-3.
Bee, oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
July 7th, 1970, with fan voting reinstated for the first time since 1957, Atlanta outfielder Rico Carty became the first player to be voted into the starting lineup for the All-Star game as a write-in candidate. Finishing ahead of Pete Rose in the voting, the big boy started alongside teammate Hank Aaron and Willie Mays in the Midsummer Classic at Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium. Carty omitted from the ballot formulated by league managers and general managers before spring training, put together a 31-game hit streak prior to the game, and wound up the season with a .366 batting average to win the National League hitting title. That was this day in Braves history. We found out who will be playing in this year's All-Star game for the Atlanta Braves at Truist Park, but it's not been an all-star season for the Braves as a whole. Fallen to a new low with yesterday's 2-1 loss to visiting Baltimore. The Braves are now 11 games under 500 and were swept by visiting Baltimore, who improves to 40-49 with those three victories. Atlanta 39-50 now, 11 games under 500. That's a season low. Again, swept in 3. They are 0-4-1 in their last 5 series, which makes it really hard to watch, which makes me even more respectful of our next guest, Donnell Suggs, editor-in-chief of the Atlanta Voice, joins us here on Main Street Sports Today, who was in the park for all 3 of those miserable outings over the weekend. Donnell, what's up?
Hey guys, how you doing? Listen, I was there for the last 2 weeks every day. So not only those 3, but a lot more losses than that.
Man, Not what anybody in Braves country has gotten used to here over the last little bit.
You couldn't have thought that a team that was 11 or 12 games under 500 would come into Atlanta and win 3 in a row. I don't believe the Orioles have swept anyone this season. They won series, but I don't think they swept anyone this season. I had to double check that last night. I thought I saw that, but I have to double check it again. But they won these 3, and it's just wow. They did it in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, and that's what you come away with. Wow. I mean, the answers are. I mean, I guess if they had them, they do something about it. But like you said, they did it in a lot of different ways. I mean, they lost 9-6 in extras on Saturday. They lost a close one Friday, 3-2, and they can score and not win. They cannot score and not win. There's been a lot of pressure put on this pitching rotation and on the pitching staff as a whole because of the struggles to score. And then when they do finally score, they can't get anybody stopped. I mean, it's all over the place.
The Braves used 7 pitchers on Saturday. I understand it was a bullpen game, but 7 pitchers in one game is a lot. You don't really want to use 7. You want to go about 3 deep and maybe 4 to close. They use 7. So now you come into Sunday needing relief, and you got some, but for Grant Holmes, who really pitched really well. The guy's tough. He'll have that one bad inning and then shut it down, but unfortunately, the 2 runs were enough to win a game, which normally wouldn't be the case with a lineup like the Braves. They can get, guys, you would think so, but this season they've left a ton of guys on base.
Yeah, when they say bullpen game, they don't necessarily mean you have to use the entire bullpen.
Right?
That's what I was thinking.
Exactly. I didn't mean the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been a few of you guys okay, but you're right, Donnell. And I mean, man, we've talked about it. The way they kind of find different ways to lose. That's the part that even as a neutral fan, it's maddening because it's like whack-a-mole. I've used this analogy multiple times. Just when you think you've kind of got something figured out, something else kind of breaks.
You got a lineup that scores a lot. Whoa, we scored, okay, good. 8 runs. That's great. That same lineup leaves 8 guys on base the next day. Or you move Michael off the lineup, Michael Harris out the lineup, or you take Ozzie and move Ozzie down 1, or you put Jerson Profar in lead off to give Acuna a rest. It doesn't matter. Bring Acuna in as a pinch hitter. There's a runner on base. He strikes out. It's like Snicker, when he comes into the post game, and he'll have one of these numbers going, and he'll take our questions, but the fact of the matter is, what can he do? What can he do? I'm not sure what else he can do. It feels like
Mo.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Donnell. And I mean, I've asked you this a couple weeks ago, and I mean, the only thing to me that seems like that is, even if you inject a jolt into this team, there's only so much time and only so many games you can make up. But it feels like the buzzards are somewhat circling. It feels like the only real move you can make is letting someone go. Not sure who, but it feels like this is where we enter into the realm of pro sports where somebody's got to pay for this.
And you're getting those questions every now and again from the press, not from me, but from others saying, is it time to sell? Is it time to sell? And Snicker's like, he's not that kind of guy. He's old school. He's like, no, we're fine. It's only the All-Star break. I don't know nothing about selling. All I know is about getting these guys prepared to play. And it's like, okay, cool. But you have some talent on this team that can bring you some more young talent. I'm even hearing people say, oh, is it time to trade Acuna? No, you can't trade one of the best players in the world and to do what? The team's not playing well. Trading him for one player won't make a difference. And obviously not prospects.
And that's the thing, Donnell. I mean, even if you do sell, Sale is hurt, and he's not coming back until at least mid-August? I mean,
if you get him back in mid-August, that means he's really kicking butt because those ribs were bruised severely. That's a lot.
Yeah. Who?
The only players I think another team would really want would be Acuna, Sale. I still think there's a really good player in Austin Riley. There's a really good third baseman in Austin Riley. I don't see why a team would really want to give you a lot for him, but I could totally see him playing in. I'm just throwing names out here. I could totally see him playing in a Yankees uniform and being way better than Chaz Chisholm at third base. But what
Well,
would you get back?
you would move Chisholm to second base in that situation.
That's what you would do.
But, I
You
mean,
just move Chisholm over.
yeah, but I don't think those guys long term are on the market. I don't see them making moves with, quote, cornerstones of this franchise. But maybe they feel good enough about Baldwin at this point that maybe Murphy goes.
But Murphy's the hottest bat. Evan Olsen are the hottest bats you have. Does the team get better if you take Murphy out? Because Murphy can catch and Olsen can DH and vice versa. Ozuna is someone you might want to move. He's not hitting anything. Ozuna and I have the same amount of base hits this week. And I was a pretty decent little leaguer and a pretty decent high school player, but I've never hit in the major leagues. He and I have the same amount of hits this week. He has one more walk than me, though.
There you go. He's got good plate discipline, right?
Yeah, something like that. That's what it's called. Okay. He walks back to the dugout when he's done with the at-bat. But
well, here's the thing, Donnell. I mean, again, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot to sell on this roster. If you're going to shake something up, is the move a coaching move, a managerial move? I mean, are we just resigned to the fact that Brian Snitker is going to finish this season, or do you do something just for the sake of, a jolt?
Being around
and if not
the team,
Snitker, who?
Being around the team, I mean to cut you off, I apologize. Being around the team.
No, you're fine.
They're not going to touch Snitker. Snitker brought them a World Series. Whatever way you want to call it, he was the manager when they got it. Walt Weiss is the next one over. It wouldn't be third base coach. It'll be Walt Weiss. Walt Weiss is right in his ear every day. Walt Weiss is a great baseball guy, a lifelong baseball guy. He's not going to change his team tomorrow. The guys are going up there playing hard. I can see the team gave up. They play hard. They're just not doing it when it needs to be done, and it's nowhere near consistent. Losing 3 series in a row is unbelievable with this many home games in a row. I get it. Phillies are tough, but they lost a series in Miami too. The LA Angels aren't even good. Another team under 500 when they came in. They lost a series to them too. So I don't know what you want. You want to play good teams well? They swept the Mets. 2.5 weeks ago, they swept the Mets and then lost and got swept by Baltimore. Those are 2 different teams. Madison doesn't make a difference with two pipe-bowler teams like that.
Yeah, it's I just think a lot of people are just you're just stunned here at this point that we're having this conversation about this team, and Snitker is fond of talking about the back of the baseball cards and that kind of thing. And a lot of these guys have career numbers that don't indicate that this is what you would expect out of them this year.
Ozuna's a way better player than what you've seen today. I've seen so far. Riley's a better player than that, for sure. Michael Harris is a much better player than what he's seen this year. He doesn't look like he's ever played baseball before. If you see him up there sometimes, it looks like a guy you kind of put in uniform and say, take a crack at it. It looks that bad, and I'm not sure what it is.
You had a change in the hitting coach position over the offseason. Kevin Seitzer's out. Tim Hires is in. Is there a different approach that has created this offensive offense?
Offensive offense. And people are talking about that, how Seitzer had him clicking. Don't forget, 2 years ago, this is the hottest offense in Major League Baseball. And that was under Seitzer, who had already been there and established himself already. Again, these are Major League Baseball players. Very good ones, too. I can see if this is a bad team. So a hitting coach, yeah, you work with the guy during the week, before the games. But in the end, you're up there by yourself. And the swing discipline's been really bad for certain guys. Ozuna, Michael Harris, the swing discipline is unbelievable. You can you can roll it from the mound. And I think they'll swing at that sometimes. That's what it looks, how bad it's looked. I'm a big Michael Harris supporter. It's gotten so bad. I'm thinking, wow, do you send the guy with a guaranteed contract as long as he's got 3 more full seasons to the minors just to get some more swings? No, you don't, because his glove is unbelievable. But hitting coach aside, you're up there by yourself, man. You got to do more than that.
Donnell, the way the roster is and kind of staff and front office is set up, my thought or my question is, if you do reach a tipping point, you do kind of turn into quote-unquote sell mode, how far down the road are you selling, or how are you looking at a major, like, all right, let's break this down and really rebuild it, or is this just going to be, all right, let's just get what we can for this year and then kind of run it back in a sense next season?
Being realistic, they're going to Sacramento. It's weird to say Sacramento. They're going to Sacramento against and they're not the Oakland A's, the A's, and then they're going to St. Louis. St. Louis is a tough place to play, always has been. That shouldn't be the decision making. But coming home, hosting the Yankees in 3 and the Giants. If you don't get anything out of that, be realistic. You're too far away to do anything with the season, and maybe it's time to sell. But you don't move Acuna. You just can't. Too good. You're never going to get the value back. But it's probably time to sell. You can't sell Sale. He's hurt. So a team that will be getting Sale will be getting him knowing that we'll have him in September. A really good team will be like, don't worry about it. He'll be with us in September. So, I mean, yeah, you don't pick up anything on this road trip coming up. It's not the end of the world. But you can't, like, come back home and get swept by the Yankees and Giants and then say, hey, we're still hanging in there. You're not hanging in there. You're 15, 16, 17, 18 games down to 500.
This is new territory, too. Donnell Suggs with the Atlanta Voice joining us here on Main Street Sports today. This is new territory for this team because they have been playing for NL East championships. They have been playing for playoff spots and that kind of thing for the last, 6-8 seasons, I guess. Obviously, 3 years removed from a 21 World Series championship, as you mentioned, with Snitker. So this is not something that this fan base is used to. It's not something this franchise is used to. How are things on a day-to-day basis around this team? Obviously, you said Snitker, we're fine, whether they are or not. But I mean, can you detect any kind of tension, any kind of pressure around this team or within this team at this point, Donnell?
Snitker's always been good about deflecting business decisions to Alexandropoulos. He doesn't talk that. He doesn't talk any of that stuff in after our post games or before the game when you catch him on the field or whatever or in the clubhouse. So he's been good about keeping business. Now the environment at Truist Park, and you guys know how this is. It's fan friendly. Everyone's having a ball. So I think people are just happy to be at ball games. You get the booze a little bit, but I mean they've also sold out like 6 of the last 8 games. And even the ones that aren't sellouts, like yesterday's game, was 33,000. So business-wise, business is going well. I don't think people have moved away from coming to games yet. But as far as how everyone's acting in the front office, it's business as usual. I think they think the team is good enough to turn it around. And I think the team is good enough to turn it around. I do.
Here's the thing, though. They're good enough to turn it around, and you look at that offense and you look at the back of their baseball cards, and you see the history that a lot of these guys have. But Sale is out. Now Schwellenbach is out. Smith-Shawver's been out. Do you have enough pitching? I mean, if you've got to run Didier Fuentes out there every 5th day, that's not good. If you got to run Bryce Elder out there every 5th day, that's not good. I mean, Grant Holmes is your stopper, and he's done a great job. But that's not the guy that you really want to be the ace of your club. But for right now, who is it?
Spencer Strider. He's not pitching like it though, but he's supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be the guy. He was the young phenom a couple years ago, and then last year was kind of rough. Injuries and whatnot, but still pitched well. This year, he's even admitting he's putting the team in the hole. That's what he said his last start. I put the team in the hole, so it's my fault. So the guy is taking full accountability, but the fact is, he's your best pitcher. He's not pitching well. Elder's a really good pitcher. He's made an All-Star game 2 years ago. He's not pitching well at all. Grant Holmes is the best one. He never gets run support. It's almost like they wait for him to pitch to not hit. It really feels like that with Grant Holmes. You feel bad for the guy because he's got a great attitude and a great story. And it's like he's here and he's made himself into an everyday major league pitcher. So it's a success story. But if you look at his record, the back of his baseball card, you're like, you sure? This guy's 4-8. He's better than that. They're not hitting when he's up. So there is no answer. Didier Fuentes is pitching tomorrow. I have a tattoo older than Didier Fuentes. I'm only 47. I've got like sneakers older than this kid. He is a baby, the nicest kid in the world, though. But he is a baby. And putting him out there saying, hey, we need a win out of you is not fair. not fair, but it's going to make him better. It's going to make him better. So in the meantime, why don't you take 3 in Sacramento? Like you should. It's a minor league ballpark. You should be able to hit in there.
Donnell Suggs of the Atlanta Voice joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let's turn this thing to some happier thoughts. There will be a game at Truist Park next Tuesday night that the Braves will not lose. The All-Star game comes to Atlanta. Again, Ronald Acuna Jr. set to start that. And, man, when you consider that he wasn't even on a roster at the beginning of the season, you know, we opened this with this day in Braves history, Enrico Carty getting voted in as a write-in candidate. Acuna was not a write-in candidate, but did win a starting role from fan balloting. Olson's been named to the team as well. Chris Sale has been named a National League All-Star. Obviously, he's not going to play in the game, but it's a tribute to how well he pitched before he got hurt. The fact that this team has got 2 guys in the game, 1 starting, says something about what they've been able to do this season.
It has, and it also says about the popularity of Atlanta Braves. Acuna's first at bat of the season was a home run. He only took 1 pitch. It kind of got people going. There was like a month where you couldn't even pitch to this kid. Now you kind of can, but for that first month of the season, you could not pitch to him. He hit everything. So does he deserve to be an all-star because of talent? Yes. Is it fair that he's only played a month and a half? Hey, fans vote. You got fan voting. I don't think ball players would have voted him in because of how much time he missed. They didn't know how good he is, though. Chris Sale has spoke about being excited about being an all-star and have done it before and loving the fact that he's going to stand on that line in front of the home fans. But Matt Olson's from Atlanta. Matt Olson is a longtime Braves fan as a kid. So for him to represent the Braves as an all-star, he said that yesterday is going to be unbelievable. Like he watched all-star games as a kid at Turner Field. And 20 years later, this kid's standing there as a man, as an all-star. So if nothing else, that's a really cool story. It's something to kind of help you ignore the fact that they've been getting their butts kicked this first half of the season.
Yeah. Olson and Acuna both scheduled to play in the or hit in the home run derby along with James Wood of the Washington Nationals and Cal Raleigh of the Mariners. The rest of the field has yet to be named, but you know, I'd almost prefer that those guys not hit and maybe save some of those for the regular season. I don't know. You know, sometimes you see guys get out of whack in the home run derby and kind of have to fix some things when they come back to playing real ball. Obviously, nobody's going to mention that concern at this point with them playing in their home park in this event. But as someone who covers the team, what are your concerns as far as that goes?
If things were going really well, Chris Sale's not going to pitch. So I wouldn't have wanted Chris Sale to pitch. But he's not. So that's fine. He's healing. With Matt Olson, he's playing really well, and it's cool for him. He's a local kid. So you want to get him in bat. The home run derby, though, I don't think that's even necessary. We're still doing that? Like, why are we still doing that? But I guess it's cool for fans. It's cool for fans. I'm there every day. I got to understand I'm there every day. So I'm like, I already see them do that in batting practice. Other people really want to see that. And it's really cool. So I'm not concerned about it because I'm not assuming he's not going to win. So he won't be there very long. Acuna's who I'm worried about. Because he is a field guy. He's a field player, man. This guy is in the outfield playing with his glove and looking around, and then 5 seconds later, he's making a diving catch. You're like, I thought he wasn't even ready. He's a field guy. So I really don't want him in the home run contest. We just got him back, but he wants to do it, and it's going to be here. Why not? So you hope for the best. Again, let's focus on winning games when you get back, and that's a team thing. Pitching in particular, the bullpen has been up and down, so I'm more concerned about that than the home run.
You've kind of reached a point, Donnell. I mean, it's so late in this, later in the season in terms of the games that you've dropped thus far. But, I mean, maybe this is just me being blindly optimistic. But there is a little something to be said for, all right, we made it to the break. We got some cool things happening. We got some feel-good vibes, as feel-good as you possibly can coming out of the break. Clubhouse-wise, that's got to at least be a small benefit. Maybe not a ton, but at least feels like it's got to count for something, I would imagine.
Guys are super happy for Matt Olson because they know he's from here. They know he's got pictures of him as a little kid in Turner Field. And he's got, like you mentioned earlier, that his mom and dad have a photo of him at the All-Star game in 2000. And he watched Chipper Jones, one of his heroes. And now he's the kid. Now he's the guy who a kid might watch. So you feel good for him. They feel good for Ronnie. Ronnie's back where he belongs. He's one of the best players in baseball, and he's gonna get cheered like one during the All-Star game, and that's really cool. So it's something positive. There really hasn't been much, to be honest. So this is a good thing. We gotta kind of approach it that way.
Donnell, before we let you go, gotta ask you. Saw a picture of you on Twitter earlier with you and the greatest point guard to ever come out of New York City, Kenny Anderson, former Fisk men's basketball coach. But know you're a huge Knicks fan. What's your feel for the Mike Brown situation?
Mike Brown was their 5th choice. Mike Brown knows that. Knicks brass knows that. You're dating somebody after you dated a whole bunch of other people. It's embarrassing. You should have never fired the coach in the first place. You had a coach. Mike Brown's never coached in the NBA Finals. He's never coached in the Eastern Conference Finals. Wait a minute, I take that back. I think he has. Cleveland, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, take it back. That being said, it's been a while. I like the hire. I like Mike Brown. He's a player's coach, though. So you gotta understand, him and Brunson are gonna get together for lunch real soon. He's gonna be with Bridges and the guys. He's gonna be pro player. So if management is cool with that, because Tibbs is not pro player. Tibbs is basketball. Mike Brown is a pro player coach. Like, those are his guys. So I'm hoping that they understand who they're hiring. They're hiring a guy who's going to fight for his players first. So we'll see. I love the hire, though. Why not? I just didn't think you need to make one.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Donnell, and that will be a fascinating thing to me. And it's easy to bash the Knicks and the decision making, and everybody's kind of done that, obviously. And Brown to me seems like, in many regards, kind of a safe choice. But then I started thinking about it. Man, you peel back the layers. The East is a big old who the hell knows what's going to happen this year. There's now all of a sudden, as we look at things, if the Knicks had just ran it back, that may be good enough to get you to the finals. Not saying they couldn't get there now, but all of a sudden it definitely feels wide open, and that's what's going to be so fascinating by making this big move kind of in the offseason for a team that was right there on the precipice.
The team that beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals will more than likely not be in the Eastern Conference Finals next year.
Right.
So run it back. Let Brunson run the show. Everybody knows their role. The beauty of the Knicks as it is right now, they got a ton of guys who know their roles. No one's going to be saying, hey, you know what? I want more shots. Josh Hart's not going to be complaining about getting more shots or more time. Bridges doesn't care about the fact that he only averaged like 14 down the stretch. He just wants to play. They got a good basketball team. So, again, why'd you fire the coach? I don't know. But Brown won't mess that up. Brown won't come in and say, you know what, Brunson, you're taking way too many clutch shots. Let's get Josh Hart some more looks. He won't do that. He's a very smart man that knows his role. So it's wide open now. Boston is not complete. Indiana is not complete. Lord knows what Miami is. We don't even know what Miami is. Cleveland's still very good on paper. You got to deal with them. But the Knicks didn't have a problem with dealing with them. So far, just run it back. Don't mess it up. Don't fix anything. It's not broken.
You mean don't mess it up any more than they did by firing Tibbs, right?
I'm about to say, you already broke that. Yeah. Don't break anything else.
Limit the damage at this point.
Limit the damage.
Donnell Suggs of the Atlanta Voice joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Donnell, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy the All-Star game, and we'll catch up with you and see if you get a foul ball up in the press box or something after.
Yeah, they keep the windows open a lot. They need to. It's freezing in there. But thank you for that. I'll be there for that. And the HBCU Swingman Classic on Friday. All the HBCU ball players. That's going to be fun, too.
That will be fun. I'll be trying to check that out as well. Hey, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
All right.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more Major League Baseball. And there's a certain team in Texas that did some damage over the weekend. Let's get into that when we come back. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even help.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
We continue with baseball talk here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. The Houston Astros taking care of business this weekend against the Los Angeles Dodgers, winning 5-1 yesterday, as we mentioned in the rundown. That was preceded by a 6-4 victory on Saturday and an 18-1 beatdown on Friday. Wade, I know that you just kind of ride the wave with the Astros, but they're on a big one right now.
Yeah, rolling to say the least. Had the best record in the month of June, and when the calendar flipped, I was a little wondering. I was a little worried, and then that worry is kind of subsided. It never escapes my mind entirely, but Crawfish Boxes, the great Astros blog, they called it the 4th of July Massacre, and they also called it the most satisfying regular season win in franchise history. 50,000 plus. They're booing, they're jeering, and they're yelling. They got Oral Hershiser so shook. He's bringing back up the cheating scandal during the game and during the series. I mean, bro, that was like a decade ago at this point. But yeah, they absolutely are flying high. Still not a complete team by any means, but whatever they got in the water down there, they are clicking and playing well at a high level. And kind of nipping at the heels for the best record in baseball at this point.
20 games over 500 right now. I mean, you can't, especially coming from where my team is, you can't look down your nose at 55-35 at this point. And kind of to put that in perspective, the Dodgers fell to 56-35 with those 3 losses. But I mean, you gotta give the Astros some respect for doing that over this weekend. Big trio of victories for Houston there.
I mean, yeah, and the theme of the Sandlot, in the theme of the Sandlot, they pickled the beast. They went into Chavez Ravine and took care of business versus not run-of-the-mill team, not a lower echelon team, against one of the best teams on paper ever assembled. And record-wise, they're in the top 3. They're trailing everybody's trailing the Tigers by a game, but I mean, they are your NL leaders at the moment. You always wonder, you don't want to peak too early, but for right now, and if nothing else, though, this was the run that Houston has needed this last month and change here to really get some distance and kind of solidified the fact that they, barring an epic collapse, will be in the postseason yet again.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good about that. Now they go back home, and they've got Cleveland coming in starting tonight. So, you just want to keep the good vibes going.
Yeah, won 8 out of their last 12. They've won something crazy like 22 out of their last 26 or something ridiculous. I mean, they lost a random game, baseball after all, but they lost one to the Rockies in the series right before they opened up versus the Dodgers, had a loss to the Cubs, but they've limited the damage. Even in the last month, they've got a loss to the White Sox, but they're not getting 2 or 3 losses at times, which is something earlier in the year they'd let a bad result kind of go against them. They went up to Cleveland to start the month of June and took 2 out of 3, including I don't watch many of their games in their entirety, but I watched a huge chunk of their Saturday game that goes to extras versus the Guardians that day, and they win it in 10. And I don't know if something has just clicked now that the temperatures have started rising, but yeah, they are playing some of their very best right now.
That is not a phrase that can be used in connection with the Washington Nationals, and apparently it came to a head yesterday as general manager Mike Rizzo and manager Davey Martinez were both dismissed. Martinez, who came on board in time for the 2018 season, in his second year led the Nationals to a World Series championship. Definitely a what have you done for me lately kind of situation. Rizzo been in place for 17 seasons. Martinez, winningest manager in the history of the Washington Nationals, 500 career victories. Just picked up his 500th win on Saturday night, I believe, but they lost yesterday. And again, they're both gone. Now, the Major League Draft is next weekend. They will be going into the draft and conducting the draft with an interim general manager, Mike DeBartolo. Now, I mean, I'm not sure how much input the manager would have on the draft, but I mean, they're going into it with an interim GM. Interesting. You know, I'm not sure necessarily, again, and we've talked about this with Colorado in particular. They made a move earlier this year. Obviously more was expected out of Baltimore than they delivered, and so that kind of explained the Brandon Hyde situation. But Colorado firing Bud Black with what they had to work with didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I'm not sure how much sense this makes. The Nationals 37-53, they are last in the NL East, but again, I don't know what was expected out of this team coming into this season that they didn't get done. They're 16 under 500, but they're not great. And they've got the number 1 pick in the draft. So.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's going to be an appealing. You mentioned James Wood earlier. I mean, you have a potential absolute superstar at your disposal, and you've got some draft assets. Your farm system looks decent. Putting on the front office cap for just a second, you know, maybe for whatever reason they decided to make this move. All right, well, this year, you know, you're willing to put up with what this year is. But we need to find somebody we seemingly have a great future ahead of us. And if current manager GM situation does not kind of fit maybe the ownership's long-term plans, I could see that being, you know, a catalyst for the move. But whoever potentially steps in, it's not as if, yeah, this year it is what it is, but and beyond, in theory, this should be kind of attractive going forward.
Yeah. Got a trio of all-stars heading into Atlanta next week. Shortstop C.J. Abrams, who is from that area. We mentioned James Wood, who's going to hit in the home run derby. He's also made the all-star team. And pitcher Mackenzie Gore. Gore and Wood both came over from the San Diego organization in that Juan Soto trade. So they really made hay with that move. Robert Hassel III from Independence getting up with the Nationals, making his major league debut earlier this year as well. So all 4 of those guys that they got out of that trade have hit, but to this point, not a whole lot to show for it. Again, 37-53, and Miguel Cairo, longtime utility infielder across Major League Baseball. He had been serving as bench coach for Martinez. He now slides over into the managerial role. Second time he's been an interim manager. He was 18-16 in 2022 with the White Sox after they made a move. Played 17 years with a bunch of teams: Blue Jays, Cubs, Rays, Cardinals, Yankees, Mets, Mariners, Phillies, and Reds. Good Lord. Got around 17 seasons. And a lot of experience. So he's going to get to make out some lineups, I guess, here for the remainder of the season. I don't know. Again, when you make a move like that, but you kind of stay in house and you elevate the bench coach, I'm not sure exactly what it is you're looking for there. Maybe just a different voice. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Could be a number of different things. Like I said, it kind of to me feels like I said, we're willing to accept some losses this year, but if you're not with us going forward, or your plan is all of a sudden not matching our plan, that's where I could see that kind of being grounds for that. You kind of, by the way, you mentioned a couple of the local folks there. I hate to twist the knife, but our boy Jacob Stallings with a big hit versus the Bravos, batting like 120 on the year, and he had a big 2-run double in extras the other night.
Well, sure. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes for the Braves these days. So, you like to see that for Stallings, though. I mean, former Brentwood Academy standout, played his college ball over at North Carolina, has hung around as a catch and throw guy for a long time in the major league.
I was unaware that he was still in the league or in a real rotation. Sounds like he was kind of buried on the Orioles depth chart, but I saw that come across over the weekend. I was like, whoa.
Well, apparently Adley Rutschman is hurt, and obviously he's their starter, but he's out right now. And Gary Sanchez, who his position is hitter, and he just happens to catch. They've not necessarily been pleased with his performance behind the plate, but I think he was a little banged up over the weekend as well. And so enter Stallings. And yeah, last I knew he was at Colorado, I thought it was. So yeah, I did not realize he was with Baltimore either, but it was nice to see him even as he was creating more misery for the Braves. Good for him. You like to see the local guys. We mentioned the all-star rosters have been announced. I've not had a real good chance to look at them. We mentioned Acuna, Olsen, and Sale from the Braves. I did notice that athletic shortstop Jacob Wilson was voted in as a starter ahead of Bobby Witt Jr., which was a little bit of a upset, I think, for the American League. But nice for the youngster there, son of former Nashville Sound shortstop Jack Wilson, set to make his first start at shortstop for the American League next Tuesday in Atlanta. Who of your Astros got on there?
That's a good question. Let's check out the rosters entirely.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Houston's kind of a weird thing. Yeah, they've been playing some great ball, and yeah, they got some good players. But I mean, we're still talking Alvarez being out and some other key players kind of gone. Alvarez, as I say that, he's voted. Now, granted, it's a fan vote, but he's voted in still. It looks like. No, the correction, that's last year's rosters. How about this? I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, no starters for the Astros in this year's game, doesn't look like. I'm trying to.
They waited too late to kind of get hot this year.
Yeah. Hunter Brown, who John Denton told us when we talked to him a few weeks ago was going to be a Cy Young candidate, will make his first All-Star appearance. Josh Hader is in the game for the 6th time. Those are your two Astros pitchers. Where are the reserves? Come on now. Oh, you're killing me. Jeremy Pena, who won't play because he's on the IL. So, but a nice recognition for him at any rate. So that gets your Astros.
So in theory, decent little, you get a couple guys represented. Hopefully get Brown a little run. Hopefully maybe even see Hader, and then Pena obviously not going to play. The key thing is don't mess with anything. Just kind of keep the status quo. Don't be going out there getting hurt or doing something crazy.
And no, don't. Whatever you do, don't do that. Absolutely. Want to mention before we go to this break, Bobby Jenks. This is a name that Wade will be familiar with. Was a closer on the Chicago White Sox 2005 World Series championship team that defeated the Astros in the World Series. Died Friday in Portugal. His wife was Portuguese, and that moved over there. But he died of stomach cancer at the age of 44 on Friday. Been battling that for a while. Back-to-back 40 save seasons in 06 and 07, but he closed out again the fall the World Series in 05 with Pope Leo in the house, by the way. So yeah, it it was funny when Ozzie Guillen was the manager of the White Sox at the time, and he would give the call to the bullpen by throwing his hand up over his head, looking for the big boy. Bobby Jenks was not a small individual, and but he was really successful for them for a period of time, coming out of the pen and closing things out. And two-time All-Star. Again, Bobby Jenks dies in Portugal of stomach cancer at the age of 44. Hate to hear that. I think he had announced it over the winter, and obviously things did not get a whole lot better, unfortunately. You hate to hear that. So our thoughts are with the White Sox and their fans, and obviously with Bobby Jenks' family. So let's take a break here as we close out hour number 1 of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Get started right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're getting into the grab bag, and, you know, it's been reported that Kevin Durant was headed from Phoenix to Houston. We kind of knew that. What we didn't know was who else was going where else as a result of that move. First trade in the history of the National Basketball Association to feature 7 teams. I don't know how you get 7 teams to agree on anything like that. What's that? That's a quarter of the league, basically. But I guess that's what it takes to get a guy like that moved who's under contract. So that's that's just wild to hear. And the fallout reached all the way to Memphis, where Jamal Meshack, who had been Mr. Irrelevant of the NBA draft going to the Grizzlies, is now a Golden State Warrior, apparently. So
yeah, this is, man, and I forget the this is killing me. I forget the website, but there's a website kind of like SpoTrack, where you can follow all the salary caps and things of that nature. But there's an NBA specific one where you can kind of go through the books for everybody. And yeah, there are some key pieces that have been moved, and obviously some of this has already been reported, and a foregone conclusion. Right. The sheer number is what grabs the headline, of course, but yeah, a lot of this is a lot of execs kind of just tidying up their books and making sure that everything's on the up and up. We certainly were kind of stunned when we heard the Durant news, but I mean, Houston is sitting very the way I look at it, they already had a great team. Now you add Durant, you get Capella back in the mix after he spent some time there, but then was away. But you just got to almost pull up a graphic to go through all this because, man, it is a lot of housekeeping. Like you said, how do you get 7 teams to agree to it? And then somehow, some way, the Lakers and Mavericks, under the cover of darkness, just mysteriously agreed, to the Luka trade. That's what's still kind of the real head scratcher here. Everybody seemingly knows everything except for the biggest trade in NBA history. 2 teams kind of got together. So very, very interesting. A lot of housekeeping. This is one for the real NBA nerds and the front office nerds to go through. But certainly there will be some new names and new faces next year.
I'm trying to figure out how Meshack is involved in this, though. I'm looking at an article from yesterday on Yahoo Sports. So he was picked by the Rockies, traded to the Grizzlies. But now I don't know. Okay. Confusion arose on Sunday when a complex 7-team NBA trade sent Meshack's draft rights to the Golden State Warriors. According to Rocky Top Insider's Ryan Sylvia, though, this doesn't mean Meshack is necessarily headed out to San Francisco, though. His mother, Mika, clarified that the plan is still for the trade to go through to keep him in the volunteer state with Memphis. He just needs to wait for the initial draft night trade to go through, now in the hands of the Warriors. Man, never a dull moment. Now, I mean, Meshack is originally from California, so it might not be a bad thing if he wound up with the Warriors, but it just really felt like from the moment he and Memphis were associated, he just feels like that grit and grind kind of guy. I think he would be a fan favorite in Memphis if he gets there. But yeah, this is really convoluted, as you would expect it to be when you're involved in 7 teams. The Suns wind up with Dylan Brooks, formerly of Memphis, Kobe Brea, Jalen Green, 3 other players, and a second-round pick. You've got Durant and Clint Capella going to Houston. Brooklyn gets a couple of picks. Golden State gets Alex Tui and allegedly Meshack. The Atlanta Hawks get swapped picks with somebody, who knows who, and they get big body David Roddy. Adu Thiero goes to the Lakers, and the Timberwolves get Rocco Zikarsky, a couple of picks, and some cash. So, like you said, takes a graphic to figure it all out.
Yeah, and some of this is just, I guess that was sort of my original point. Some of this is just housekeeping and kind of just making sure everything kind of plugs and plays. I mean, the real crux of this was obviously the Phoenix and Houston deal, and I think that's kind of where I'm going down that road is, okay, you can agree to this, but it's like, okay, how do we make everything on the up and up financially? And then it's like, that's what I'm trying to figure out the kind of spider web here. Okay, well, we got to call this team to do this. Ooh, I know that Brooklyn's, looking for this, or I know that they need to clear this. It really is kind of mind-boggling as you go. And I'm just wondering, it feels like it just started Phoenix and Houston. All right, we like this deal, but how the hell are we going to make it work? It's kind of the trickle-down effect.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the slackers in Miami, the Clippers, and Utah combined on a 3-team trade. Just 3 teams. Come on now. Y'all got to get your game up. But Norman Powell is going to Miami. John Collins is going to the Clippers. And Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson are going to Utah along with a 2nd-round pick in 27. So, again, kind of pales by comparison. But there you go. Did you know Kevin Love was still playing?
Yeah, especially only because that's when they announced the Jimmy Butler trade. The fan in the front row broke it to Love while he was sitting on the bench, and he turned in the middle of the game and asked all the particulars. Props to the fan who nailed almost all the particulars. But
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of been on a milk carton here of late. But other than that trade breaking news right there. So yeah, he's on the move to Utah, where he may not be heard from again.
Could be. Hey, for the record, I'm looking at it here. The Grizz do play again tonight in Summer League action. They had their opener Saturday. Meshack was on the Grizz roster Saturday. He did not play, listed as coach's decision. So I don't know kind of where all this fits in and kind of what. But he apparently was at least suited up. There was several guys that got that DNP, but he was one of them for the Grizz on Saturday.
I kind of hope he stays in Memphis. I mean, with the career that he had at Tennessee, I think he'll really get a lot of love down there, or as much love as anybody from Tennessee would get in Memphis. We'll see how that goes. Becky Hammond didn't have a whole lot of love for the Las Vegas Aces Friday night, following their 81-54 loss to the Indiana Fever. Fever snapping a 16-game skid against the Aces with that dominant victory there. And Becky, never very reserved anyway. That's a complete lack of professionalism to come in here with that effort, complete lack of focus. They played harder in practice yesterday by a lot. Wasn't even close. I don't know how you step onto the floor with 20,000 people in the stands and perform like that. It is the worst offensive night I've ever seen as far as I've been here in the last 4 years. Asia with 29, and nobody else scored more than 6 for the Aces in that loss. And again, the Fever with an 81-54 victory, with Caitlin Clark continuing to be sidelined with a groin injury. So I don't know what that means for the Aces. Is it just a lack of focus, or is it deeper than that for the Aces? Would be my question.
I think it's just, I mean, it's tough because we're so used to seeing them win. And when you trade away, or, you know, when Plum kind of departs, and we've talked about it on this show, you know, it's kind of like, all right, let the baby bird leave the nest and kind of go become her own superstar, kind of get out from under Asia in that regard. They made some moves, and, you know, I think a lot of folks were anticipating Jewel Lloyd coming in and kind of bringing some extra teeth. But I mean, like you said, she had 2 points in that blowout loss. They just don't have an identity right now, and Wilson can only do so much, and she hasn't been at her usual, no doubt about it, hands down MVP, best in the league form this season. But, you know, you wonder if some of that is because the supporting cast has not been as great. It's been a tough season so far.
Meanwhile, former Vanderbilt assistant, former Purdue head coach, national championship head coach, former Orlando Miracle of the WNBA coach, Carolyn Peck, made the comment after that Fever win over the Aces, which was their 4th in 8 games without Caitlin Clark. Look, I think Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play, because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away. But when you look at Indiana now, they've got so many weapons, and Kelsey Mitchell is playing out of her mind. Aaliyah Boston, back to the basket year 1, year 2, 2-man game, year 3, they're using her as a decision maker. The point that Carolyn Peck, who is one of the more respected minds in women's basketball, was making was that Indiana has more options when Caitlin Clark is not on the floor. And I don't know of anybody that's familiar with basketball that would argue that. And yet, people are. Because anything that you say that might be negative toward Caitlin Clark is an issue. It's ridiculous. I mean, it makes sense. You take her off the floor, you got more folks that you got to be worried about. Wade, you watch a little basketball. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense to me, just in the sense, yeah, you're having to make up for her production, and you don't have a one-to-one replacement. So therefore, you're going to have to try and get that production through other sources. Yeah, you're going to have to account for that 100% of her that's missing. And like I said, if you don't have that one-to-one 100% match, then yeah, you're going to have to siphon it off from somebody a little bit here, a little bit there. But to your point too, yeah, like you said, anything. Number one, it's on social media more often than not, which is in of its own right a different discussion. But number two, yeah, constant needle mover. You could say that Caitlin Clark has 6 toes, and there could be a picture of her with 6 toes, and you're going to get some arguments for and against. I mean, she is the 21st century needle mover, unlike we've seen in a long time. A lightning rod of discussion, good, bad, or indifferent.
It's just crazy that she had to come back and explain what she was saying. I did not say Caitlin Clark is not valuable. She's a great player. For those who only see Caitlin, I was complimenting the rest of the team. The Fever have several weapons. Yes, they lost last night. They have lost games with her. Respect to the whole Indiana Fever team. And it's just amazing to me. As a coach, if you have ever prepared a scouting report, scout the Fever with and without Caitlin. What do you have to take away in both scenarios? They are different. One is not easier than the other, just different. There's a lot of talent on that team. Again, the fact that she's having to defend that is beyond amazing to me.
Well, it's perhaps beyond amazing, but what it also is, let's not forget this too, it's double the ratings grab for ESPN. You go out and say,
but I see what you're saying.
It's a chance to bump numbers no matter what. Peck may be like, hey, I don't want to have to go out and defend myself every time, but quietly probably getting from the ESPN execs, ooh, we like that. That moved the needle a little bit. Even if you issue the apology to the apology still draws numbers.
I'm not sure that Carolyn's going to play that game, but yeah, I see where you're coming from on that, and it makes sense from an ESPN standpoint for sure to try to keep that out there as long as possible. Vanderbilt and Memphis men will resume their hardwood series in December at the FedEx Forum. Series is tied 8-8. Memphis has won the last 4, including in Memphis, a two-point game in December of 2023 and a 76-67 win at Memorial Gym in November of 2022. Of the 16 games that have been played in that series, 12 have been decided by single digits. So you can expect a competitive matchup when these two get together down at the FedEx Forum again in December. Should be fun.
Seemingly always is, yeah. The matchup's kind of rolling in here, and kind of just enough to kind of get you excited.
Yeah. We're gonna just jump right over college football. No, we're not. SEC Football Media Days start next Monday down at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. So get ready to get inundated with that. Let's see who we got when. It opens Monday again with LSU, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and the Vanderbilt Commodores, Clark Lee. Tuesday, you've got Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas making their appearances. On Wednesday, it's Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. And the final day, Thursday, we'll have Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Texas A&M. So football is around the corner, y'all. Yay.
Around the corner, this to the average person is really kind of when it kicks off. I got the Feel Steel magazine. That's when it officially kicks off to me. Tomorrow we got College Football 26 dropping for the early access. It is football season to say the least. And yeah, next week is when everybody will descend upon and see, and kind of debate. We've even seen Spurrier kind of, inject his commentary. It will be fascinating. And I mean, the SEC, the media days in general have kind of already jumped the shark in terms of pure circus. They can't really do a lot more, it feels like. But I will say this, when Sankey takes the podium, there's usually at least a little bit of substance in what he says. His remarks at the beginning every year are not just totally hollow. So I'll be tuned in for that. I'll be fascinated to see what happens because they kind of got some work to do after they're not used to losing very often. And they dropped 2 in a row now. They're going to be gunning to try and get one back this year.
It was fun to see Hayden Spurrier back on social media a couple of weeks ago with some Texas quarterback comments. So Steve's back. We'll be keeping an eye on him. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be talking a little footy with VALAIR SHABILLA of 615soccer.com. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, continues here. I'm Maurice Patton, that's Wade Neely, and we are joined by VALAIR SHABILLA of 615 Soccer to talk a little Nashville Soccer Club. These guys may never lose again. After defeating the Philadelphia Union Saturday night 1-0 at the Castle, Geodis Park. VALAIR, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you guys. How you doing?
What's up, VALAIR?
I'm watching it rain myself, but other than that, we're inside. We're dry. It's good. Things are good at Geodis again. NSC won. Philadelphia Union nothing, scoring in extra time on a penalty kick, and again, it's been since late April since NSC has lost 14 straight. Either won or drawn. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, great all around, and 10 of those 14 were wins. So it's not a matter of drawing a bunch of games and getting the odd win, which Nashville SC have gone on runs like that before. Nothing wrong with that. They're still on an unbeaten run. However, when you consider 10 wins, 4 draws, it's a really, really positive result. And then most importantly, on Saturday was the opponent. It was Philadelphia, the leading team in MLS. Nashville SC were able to do the sweep against Philadelphia. They beat them in Philly, or Chester, Pennsylvania, more specifically, and they beat them here at Nashville, Tennessee. So, being able to not only compete but beat a team of Philly's caliber is something that Nashville shows clear positive marks for Nashville. And I think when you consider the way it happened Saturday night, took over 100 minutes of a scoreless draw, and then in the 101st minute, Hani Mukhtar puts the ball at the back of the net. I will say, as far as scoreless draws go, that was probably the most exciting one I've seen. It was fireworks, no pun intended, from the start. There was a red card, obviously Johnny Perez from Nashville's side, but a bunch of fights broke out. There was, it was an entertaining. There were good saves from both goalkeepers and the defending unit. So there was a lot going on for a game that didn't have goals. And then when that goal came at the end, was such a huge release, and probably, honestly, the best atmosphere and the best crowd George Park has seen since probably that Leagues Cup final in a few years back.
It was epic. It was epic, Valaiir. And I was just going to say, you kind of put it into words. You number one, you made two great points there, in my opinion. You're not just scraping by with, 10 draws and a win here, a win there, like my beloved Everton. That's kind of their strategy usually over the years. But you're going out and you're beating teams, and the fact that you rally from 10 down and just you have to absolutely beat this team till the final whistle if you're going to get a win from them or even get a point from them, it seems like this year.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Philadelphia is that they have been this intense team to play against year in, year out in the league. It's been, I think, 4 or 5 years that they finished up top. Last year was a little bit of a blip for them, but other than that, they have been that marker of a team when it comes to pressing, when it comes to playing with intensity. And Hani Mukhtar called it a playoff match for Saturday night. He said it felt like a playoff match because of how intense it was, because of the way Philadelphia play, and because it's two trains going full speed heading into each other, because Nashville SC play like that, or are capable of playing like that. Sometimes Nashville SC keep the ball a little bit more and are able to be a little bit more methodical and a little bit more flair. But if the game requires them to be intense and to be, BJ Callahan said it was bang bang. And I quote that was a direct quote. And if the game requires Nashville SC to be bang bang, then they are able to be bang bang, and that's something we've seen throughout this run, is that Nashville SC been able to get results and win in different ways, in different fashions, away from home, at home. And that's really, again, a really positive sign for a team that not many expected to be here in a supporters shield race.
Valaiir, you talked about the atmosphere Saturday, and this was the first game back at Geodis since they announced the locals only first match on us, ticket deal. How much do you feel like that played into that atmosphere? I mean, I know you don't, take count of who's coming for the first time and that kind of thing, but was there any way to feel, that there was a little excitement just from folks being out there for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say in terms of the numbers, it was, I believe, the best attended match this season for Nashville SC. So there was definitely an extra sort of push numbers wise. Now, in terms of the atmosphere itself, I thought it was, I think folks are starting to understand soccer to a really high level here in Nashville. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but when the team started, it was a little hard to get fans to understand every single thing that's happening. And obviously there are people way smarter than me in the stands often. I'm just saying the general sort of average fan coming in. And I think that's starting to change a little bit. And then that atmosphere or that environment kind of leads to teaching those newer fans coming in, whether it was in that program that they came in for their free local game or otherwise. One thing for sure is that they left that stadium wanting more of what they saw. And I think that was the goal of the program. That's why they started that program. And look, if you're a Nashville resident, your choices for high level sports teams is limited to start with because Nashville doesn't have all the top sports in America. Your choice of a winning high sports team is, just one at the moment, and probably for a while. So I think it's a really big void. We've seen the city rally around winning teams often, and I think it's a big void at the moment because the only team winning and making the right moves is Nashville SC, and I think and we've seen that whether it's the media coverage from all of us involved here, or the fans being able to kind of rally behind this team and support them throughout this stretch.
Valair, having said that, I was in the building Saturday and also saw Mayor Freddie O'Connell in the house as well as we were walking in there. So, I mean, it was a raucous crowd, but one play in particular, obviously Mukhtar's goal just sent the roof off of the place. But, man, I continue to be blown away by what we're seeing out of Palacios, and it almost should be expected at this point. But right kind of in front of where we were in 131, he had one of the great clearances off the line that the game was still very fertile in that stage. It was kind of up for grabs, and this guy just continues to blow me away, and having a good glimpse at him at the back, I continue to be more impressed with this guy every time I see him.
Yeah, he came in, as a backup option, really. Jack Mayer and Walker Zimmerman were depended on starters and center back. Walker Zimmerman ends up with a horrific injury. And then after recovery, he ends up going to the men's national team. And that's your club captain. That's your captain being out for a significant amount of time. And, when Palacios first stepped up for Walker, everybody was like, wow, this guy can play, can cover for Walker. But obviously when Walker Zimmerman comes back, it's, he'll take his spot. Now it seems like it's a really hard decision for me to drop Palacios if I was BJ Callahan, because the way he's played, this is his first year in the league, first year in a foreign country. He doesn't speak the language very well, all that going on, and then being able to perform at a level that really puts you among the elite in MLS in terms of defending. It's not just the way he defends, or obviously that's a really good quality he has, but his positioning and his on the ball skills are just above average when it comes to center backs in this league. So when you look at how high he plays and his recovery speed, it's probably the best on the team. And then when you look at when the ball is in his feet, for a center back, he's not dependent on to facilitate a lot of the attacks, but he's able to every now and again to play a nice pass or make a run himself and go up there. And he's scored a goal already this season from a set piece as well. So it's really a complete player who is coming to his own, who is becoming borderline undroppable for BJ Callahan as these games are coming thick and fast.
And then Najjar kind of flanking on the right. Seems like we continue. This is an interesting development this year because it felt like if Zimmerman was out in years past, Valair, it felt like you might get a draw if you're absolutely at your best. Zimmerman, obviously kind of got some other responsibilities in the last week or two. But with him being out, this team is, man, they're more dangerous than ever, it seems like.
Yeah, and it's not just Zimmerman. Schaffelberg has been out as well. And while he hasn't played a huge part this season, if this was last season, we'd all be saying, Nashville
got to have him
without Schaffelberg, right? And same thing with a couple of other injuries. In the DC match, there was a suspension to Eddie Taxeth. Ahmed Qasim has been in and out of form. I mean, this team proves that this sort of next man up mentality is truly in play for BJ Callahan, because it doesn't matter who you put on there. I mean, obviously it matters because, we're kind of tracking this, but it really doesn't matter in terms of which player steps up. We saw Carlton make a debut in DC away from home. We've seen so many different sort of debuts come in. And what it matters the most is that the collective and the team is playing in a way that the manager has set up for them. And he's installed a belief in the young players and I guess the old players, or the veterans is a better word, he's installed this belief that they can do it and they can cover any position, and they don't have to have those top guys all the time there. And that is definitely something new, because for the longest time, Nashville were solid defensively because of Walker Zimmerman and a couple of the other defenders throughout the years. And then all they had to do was stay solid defensively and hope for a Hani Mukhtar special moment at the other side. And those were the guys leading Nashville. Now, if you name any player that started last night, I can probably go on a 5-minute rant about how positive they have been for the team. And that's not something that's common with Nashville SC.
VALAIR SHABILLA of 615 Soccer joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. The Nashville Soccer Club gets to follow up this win Wednesday back over at Geodis, an 8 o'clock first touch as DC United comes in the quarterfinals of the Lamar Hunt Open Cup. This will be the third time they've played DC United, VALAIR, is that right?
Yeah, and even with this crazy run that Nashville SC is in, they did play them twice in that 14-game run. One of them was a draw at home, 0-0, and then an away win, 1-0. DC has been, playing Nashville SC really frustrating Nashville SC. And, we recorded our show today, and I said DC is a miserable team that make every team play against them feel as miserable as them. And that's really
drag them in the mud.
I mean, the quality goes down, immediately once DC steps on the field. But look, this is their way. This is DC's way of getting a result here. The regular season has really been slipping away from them. They are also 3 wins away from winning a trophy. And this is what's interesting about these single elimination games is that, you don't have tomorrow to make up for it. You don't have the next game to make up for it. This is it. When you advance, you lose, you're out. And I think this kind of gives a little bit of an advantage to DC in terms of being able to maybe draw on those 2 games that we talked about, that they played Nashville SC and frustrated them, and say, hey, if we can do that for 90 minutes, we've only let in 1 goal against this team in 180 minutes. If we can do another, 90 minutes of that and maybe steal a goal late on or take them to extra time, to penalties and win that way, I think that's going to be in the minds of DC United. But for Nashville SC, really, what I'm looking for is how much of a rotated side are we going to see? This game is sandwiched between the Philadelphia game, which was, like we talked about, one of the biggest regular season games ever for Nashville SC, and a trip to Miami to visit an old friend, Messi, on Saturday. So this is right in the middle of those two. Obviously, not every player can play 90 minutes, 3 games in 1 week. So to me, it's kind of figuring out what is the right balance of rotating, but also being able to get a result. Because as we've talked before, and I think last time you had me on, we talked about this, the Open Cup is a very, very important thing for Nashville SC, because they are 3 games away from winning a trophy for the first time in club history, and for the first time for this city, really, to have a winner, to have somebody lift silverware in a professional capacity. So it's a really important one. Last time out, we saw Nashville SC really rotate and go to Orlando and still get a result, which was probably one of the most unexpected things to happen, considering that lineup. This time is at home. It is the quarterfinal. It's a little more, I think stakes are a little higher. So I'll be curious to see. But regardless of who's out there, Nashville SC are going into this game as the overwhelming favorites.
VALAIR, real quick, before we go kind of further down the schedule, one more on Saturday. Put into words and kind of explain as best we can, kind of a very cool but also heartfelt moment when Mukhtar scores the goal. Hani with the celebration that the whole team kind of gets involved in, kind of what went in behind that.
Yeah, so unfortunately last week, the soccer world was shocked by a very, very unfortunate news of the passing of Diego Jota. He plays for Liverpool. He plays for the Portuguese national team. He played for the Portuguese national team, and then unfortunately, in a very, very tragic car accident, him and his brother, who also plays professionally in Portugal, passed away after that car accident, and it really took the soccer world in shock. And there were a lot of tributes to Diego Jota. Now, as far as I know, there isn't a huge connection, Diego Jota to Nashville SC, but look, we all watched this game, and we've all seen this guy who is 27 years old play, and as an Arsenal fan, I saw him score against my team more than I would like, but it's not something you think about as possible for these guys and for these players, because it's something that, they're out there, they are kind of untouchable in a way, but life has its way. And the celebration that Hani Mukhtar did with the video game, that was, and he kind of told everybody else to get in on it. That was Diego Jota's, one of his most popular celebrations. So it was a tribute to him. It was really nice. We saw that around MLS. There were a couple other players who also did that. And then there were other players around the world as well who did that after goals or just overall. So, yeah, again, really sad news. And, just one of those things where there isn't really a whole lot you can say about it, other than, you just hope that his family and everybody who knew him can live with some peace in these upcoming months.
VALAIR SHABILLA of 615soccer.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. As we mentioned, NSC takes on visiting DC United in Wednesday's Open Cup quarterfinals, and they go to Inter Miami on Saturday as they can return to MLS play. NSC is number 2 in the Eastern Conference table at 12-5-4, behind Cincinnati at 13-3-5. Trying to hang on to that number 2 spot when they go on the road on Saturday. It's tough to get greedy, but at the same time, when you've won 14, you want to win 15, right? Or when you've not lost in 14, you want to not lose in 15.
And that's really it. I mean, 15 and 16, and you want to keep it going. And that's really how it, that's really what BJ Callahan is probably telling the players right now, because the interesting thing is that Inter Miami has 4 games in hand because of their involvement with the Club World Cup and earlier on the Champions Cup. There are all these games that they have banked that they are getting back to winning ways against Montreal. If they keep winning those 4 games, then they are all of a sudden in that conversation with Cincinnati, with Nashville SC, with Philadelphia, and even Columbus, right? The East is not getting any easier. It's getting tighter and tighter by the match day. And for Nashville to keep picking up points, I know what they've achieved already is sort of above what anybody else predicted. However, you said you don't want to be greedy, but I think Nashville SC fans want to be a little greedy. I think they want to see their team winning, right? And I mean, I don't blame them. This is a team that made them believe for the first time in a while that they have a world-class level that they can compete against the best of the best in MLS. And, now while the goal coming into the season was, make the playoffs, now it's, can you press for Supporters Shield? Can you win a Supporters Shield? Can you solidify a top playoff spot, maybe a top 4 spot? That way you bring more games to Geodis Park in the playoffs. That's kind of the discussion now, more so. And then the Miami game is a vital part of that, just like the Philly game, right? I mean, this is a team that is right up there with you. There's the Messi factor, which we cannot understate. There are more eyeballs on this game than ever, probably every time you play Inter Miami. So, look, a positive result in Miami, even if it's not a win, I think a positive result in Miami can be a draw. But obviously, a win would really take this team, I think, from contenders to favorites when it comes to the Supporters Shield.
VALAIR, before we let you go, we'd be remiss if we didn't get your reaction to the Gold Cup final yesterday with Mexico defeating the USMNT 2-1. Is the jury still out on Pochettino at this point, or just what is the feel coming out of that loss for the U.S.?
I think it's maybe it's unchanged, the opinion from the start of the tournament to the end of the tournament. I think most people have what they, how they felt at the beginning of it is kind of where they are right now. This is a team. It's hard to tell where this team is because of who the involved players were in this tournament. The involved players, half of them, if not more, will not be involved in the World Cup next year. So it's really hard for me to be like, well, the U.S. to analyze that. And I can only assume it's hard for Pochettino to analyze that because what is, again, maybe you can pick 3, 4, 5 players who started last night to start again. Maybe that is being generous to start again in a World Cup game. We don't know. There are positives. There's the Diego Lunas of the world. There's the Malik Tillmans of the world who really left a mark on this Gold Cup. Chris Richards solidified his spot. But honestly, we don't come out of this Gold Cup saying, oh, Mauricio Pochettino has figured out his style or has figured out his guys. There are, again, positives here and there, but overall, I'm still as worried about the U.S. next year as I was before this tournament started. I'm not sure they can do much before the World Cup, honestly. There are a couple of friendlies here and there starting in September. But at this point, it's the next competitive match is the opening game of the World Cup. And, I don't think they wanted to be here a year out from the World Cup.
There we go. VALAIR SHABILLA of 615soccer.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. VALAIR, we appreciate it as always. Look forward to catching up with you here soon and seeing how much further we can push this unbeaten streak for the boys and go.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, VALAIR.
Thank you. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's wrap things up with the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stay tuned.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier Whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Final segment of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we talked to Heather Williams, our NASCAR analyst from WCYB TV out of Johnson City, on Wednesday last week, she's talked on numerous occasions about Shane Van Gisbergen being probably the best street racer, road racer on the NASCAR circuit. Proved it this weekend, not once but twice, winning the Xfinity Series race in Chicago and then coming back and winning the Cup Series race on Sunday. That's, again, I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but to win consecutive races on the same track or in the same town like that, that just really feels really impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to, like you said, go out and do it once, but kind of asserting your dominance. And I'm always intrigued. I always love when NASCAR does dabble into the road or the street realm because, number one, yeah, some guys or some racers are just a little bit better. And Heather's alluded that, the gap is perhaps closing. But I still love the concept of kind of a specialist or a ringer almost. And when that kind of plays out like it did this weekend, especially, that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah. This guy he just really feels like he's on the come up. He's got this type racing locked down, and I think it's going to be fun to watch him develop the rest of his game, so to speak. But SVG wins the Xfinity and the Cup race in Chicago this weekend. We'll be checking in with Heather later in the week to get her thoughts on that. And I'm fascinated by this in-season challenge bracket again. When I got back into Pocket last week, I wasn't real familiar with all of this, but it looks like we've still got a number 32 seed alive going into the quarterfinals. Ty Dillon knocking off Brad Keselowski. He is the number 32 seed in the 32 driver bracket and matches up with Alex Bowman going into the quarters next week. So you've got a number 32 seed, a number 20 seed, and a number 23 seed, and Tyler Reddick still alive. Your most favorable seeds are Ty Gibbs at number 6 and Bowman at 8. So this thing really, relative to the seeding going into the bracket, is really kind of wide open. Now, Heather kind of talked a little bit to the seeding process when we had her on Wednesday, and it wasn't necessarily straight up, but still, it is what it is. And you've got a 32 and a 23 and a 20 still alive.
Yeah, the bracket kind of got ripped up in half with that huge crash in Atlanta, like Heather mentioned. But more beyond that, it's going to be fascinating because if I'm not mistaken, they're at another road course this week. I don't know if that helps or hurts one driver in particular. I'll be excited to talk with her Wednesday and kind of figure that out. But yeah, Ty Dillon, man, the 32 seed, kind of holding it down. The way she kind of described it would be like, you had 4 13 seeds, 2 or 3 15s, and 2 or 3 16s, all that advanced. That's what March Madness would look like from there. So kind of going to be curious to see how it all plays out with $1 million up top for the winner.
SVG wins it at Chicago in the Cup Series. Ty Gibbs a second, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch round out your top 5. Ross Chastain finishes 10th. Chase Elliott, last week's winner down at Atlanta, finished 16th at Chicago. Catherine Legge coming in at number 19 in Chicago. Let's see other names of note. Bubba Wallace, 28th. Daniel Suarez, 29th. Hendersonville's Josh Berry finishes 34th. So next week is at Sonoma, another road race. And as we mentioned, we will certainly hope to catch up with Heather on Wednesday, as we typically do, to break all of this down coming out of Chicago, heading into Sonoma this weekend. Wade, were you familiar with Brian Campbell?
Tell me more.
He's your John Deere Classic winner from this past weekend, despite being the shortest hitter and the slowest velo of anybody on the tour.
That does not sound like a winning recipe, but somehow, some way, he pulled it off.
Apparently, been on the tour for 10 years. Well, he made his tour debut 10 years ago, and most of that has been on the Corn Ferry. But he did win earlier this year at the Mexico Open. That was his only top 30 finish this season, again, before winning the John Deere Classic in Illinois this weekend. Won it in a playoff, I believe.
Yeah, second straight tournament that goes to extra holes, and we've seen a little drama, kind of getting ready for the Open. Local boy Lee Hodges, he's playing some decent golf, but he hasn't quite got it together. He had to settle for a 21st place finish over the weekend. And Sneds is still knocking around. He finished tied for 33rd. Lee's kind of chasing that elusive top 5, or dare I say a win that would really solidify his PGA card for next year. But yeah, some of these guys are kind of, not necessarily household names as of late. And I think we got 2 weeks till we go across the pond. So it's going to be time to tinker a little bit for some of these folks as we get ready for our last major.
Sounds like there was some spice at Wimbledon this weekend, Wade. The electronic system that they had put in to replace human line judges came up a little short. Hawkeye was deactivated for 3 points during a match between Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Sonia Cartel. There was a shot that clearly landed out by Cartel, but wasn't called out because Hawkeye had been shut off. No, I mean, it's fantastic to have the technology and everything, but if you don't turn it on, then it ain't gonna work, y'all.
Just could have gotten unplugged, perhaps.
Well, the tourney director wouldn't say whether or how it happened, but the chair umpire should have known, and 2 others should have known that the system was down, including someone who is in charge of Hawkeye. So we don't need to put line judges back on the court. We need the system to be active. This was from Sally Bolton, the CEO of Wimbledon, the All England Club, that I guess administers the tournament. So again, things getting a little spicy over there.
Getting a little spicy, and we almost lost, as the show was going on, we almost lost the number 1 seed, Yannick Sinner. Crazy situation, Mo, as he's trailing 2 sets, and it's 2-2 in the third, and so Grigor Dimitrov is up and cruising, probably going to easily win versus number 1 seed. Had an ugly injury and was forced to retire. So Sinner somehow escapes by the hair on his chinny chin. Djokovic got a nice win despite dropping the first set today. He advances. And I'm telling you, folks, that howitzer on the left arm of the former Florida Gator, Ben Shelton, he got another nice win today to move on. So things are starting to heat up. Quarterfinals begin tomorrow for the men, and we will kind of cruise into the weekend here and hopefully see what plays out.
We will indeed.
Emma Navarro got beat too this morning in the late. That's a high-profile U.S. Player that's now gone.
Another one. Yeah. Okay. Come back and see us tomorrow on Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We will see y'all at 2 o'clock. Have a good one.